Hi, I'm Andrew and welcome to the back office teardown lab. Here is something I have had sitting on the shelf for a long time. It's a Sega Saturn from Japan. It's a Japanese Sega Saturn, and I don't know anything about it. I have not used it. I haven't even powered the thing up. What I do know is that it's Japanese power, so it'll be 100 volts. In fact, yep, it says it right there. And I recently have had an American power adapter, which will give me 110, so that's probably fine for that. It does seem to use an AV out, which I think is the same as the PC Engine and Sega Mega Drive 2. But I'm going to have to check that out. But what I want to do first is really just have a quick look inside, because these are things that I got from Buyee a while back, a good while back, and I'm never quite sure if the elements are basically dead inside or not. And I'm hoping just from a quick cursory glance we can see if there's a bad fuse or something like that. But in many cases it's been something like dead optical drives. I'm not too bothered. I didn't buy this because I wanted a Sega Saturn. I just bought it because I wanted it as part of a bigger order. I was making a bigger order, waiting 6 months for shipping, so you might as well throw it in. I will admit though, Space Harrier is one of my favourite games, and I feel that Space Harrier on the Sega Saturn, where I've played it at the Play Expos, is the best version. The best version. I think it's better than the arcade version if I'm not mistaken, but that'll be yet to be seen. Pretty sure that's all the screws. There's the little door on the back. Okay. Going to be a bit ginger, but there you go. Nothing to it. Not much in there. Not even too much filth. I was expecting a lot more filth from up here. Cartridge port there. The little damper for the opening mechanism. That's all quite cool. That's fine. We'll put that aside. I like this thing. That's one of the more unusual light pipes I've seen, and it's definitely a light pipe. It doesn't appear to be a button. It just goes to a hole in the top. There's our power supply, our optical drive, and underneath there is the main board. So I think it's all here. It doesn't look too grim. In fact, even that all looks like it moves and slides as it should. Oh, I am noticing something a little bit worrying though. There do seem to be deposits of something that's akin to a surface rust, but where it gets worrying for me, I don't know if you can quite see it in there. There's a little dab of it there on the PCB. So what we're going to do, oh, that's okay, look. It really is just something on the surface. Perhaps something was just spilt in there. Something moisturous. Power supply wise, I can see the fuse looks okay, so I'm going to assume that's fine. I wonder why this RU nomenclature has been blacked out on it. That's always a little bit worrying. But looking at it here, you have, this is the output here, and it says ground 5 volts at 3 amps, and that's it. The only other connection to this board apart from the power coming in is this wire that's going to the power switch. So that's 100 volts to the power switch right there at the front. This will be a pretty easy power supply to bypass. If anything, actually, I can just test this right now by attaching 5 volts straight here. I've soldered a couple of wire ends here just to the end of those pins. Not too much that I can't clean it off easily enough for the future. I've got a bench power supply set to 5 volts. I'm going to hit the on. Let's see. It's not going to go via the power button, so it's just going to do something, hopefully. And I'm seeing a full amp being drawn. A full amp, believe it or not. But we're not seeing anything happening. No drive action here. We do have some sort of sensor here, so I'm going to try. Oh, look! Oh, yes. It's a bobbling. Do you see it moving up and down? But it's not spinning. Let's even get a disc in there. No attempt to spin it. And I expect that this really should be trying to spin it. My bench power supply isn't overcurrenting. It's just this isn't trying to spin that disc. It's a bit weird because I can see everything else going, so perhaps this motor's died. I guess we should see if the motor's dead, because that'll tell us if it's a chip on the board or something more sinister. I'm just going to remove this connector here. I think we can just easily enough get this out. It's like a strap. Yeah, there is a little bit of a strap here, but we'll leave that on. I don't think I need to get rid of that, because I can see clearly these are the two motor contacts. I'm going to take off the jumpers I made earlier onto the power. I'm going going to solder one on each connector. The power is off, by the way, and I'm going to turn the power right down for this. We're not going to leave it at the full 5 volts because I don't know what voltage this motor is. We're just going to take it nice and easy. Take it easy. Right. No shorts, no nothing on 1.3 volts. Look at that. It's definitely, the motor's okay. Which means it's probably something more sinister like a driver chip. So we have one trace here and one trace here. And they're going down to this chip. In fact, looking at this other motor also going down to this chip. This is most certainly the motor driver chip. And it says 62800D. And then it's got Mitsubishi sign M56754SP. So it looks like that's probably the dead duck among this circuit. And it seems to be partially dead, of course, because we saw this choo-chin forwards and backwards, whereas this thing wasn't spinning at all. Might have to Google that one and see if it's likely something we're going to want to fix. Or something we're going to have to bin. And indeed, Google reveals it's a Mitsubishi Control Driver IC, which is a 4-channel actuator motor driver. And I'm just looking at the wiring diagram. You can actually even see which motor's wired to which channel. And we're going to go here, count the pins. So it looks like this is VM2. The VM2 plus and VM2 minus going to this. What's interesting enough though, it has 4 of those. So I wonder what else it's controlling. We only see 2 motors on here. But it doesn't matter. If we've got that dead output, it doesn't help us right now because we can't do anything with it. Interesting thing. I started messing around with this and I started to play with the current limit on the power supply. And I got into a strange point where the drive motor was actually spinning a little bit, not regularly, but spinning. And I switched that back up to full current and started probing around here, and I noticed there's this orange pot on the back of the laser, and I just thought, what if the laser isn't seeing that? And I know that a lot of these devices, often you can see the laser running, so I put a piece of paper on here, and I couldn't see anything going while the laser's moving. I thought maybe this really is truly an infrared laser and we can't see it. And if it can't see the disc, perhaps it doesn't even spin up. So what I did is twiddle that. I'm trying to imagine you're looking that way. I was twiddling it this way, right? So I was twiddling it clockwise face on. A little bit at a time. Like I twiddled it a tiny bit, like 1/8 of a turn, and the drive just flicked a little bit. So I just went a bit more and checked this out. It could well be that this is working now. All I need to do is get a Sega Saturn game and try it. So I need a Sega Saturn game and I need a Sega Saturn power lead. Obviously the power supply I could just jury rig. What I might do, tell me if this is of use to you, because in a recent endeavour I've actually made a new board for Famicoms, which is the Japanese Famicom, and this is an NTSC J remover. This gives you a composite out, a clean boosted composite out, no jail bars, and it has a complete new power supply for a Famicom, and I'm wondering if it would be useful to do something similar to this. And it could be super simple in that instead of putting a power thing on the end like that, normal mains one, we could just go, if you can see that, with one of those type of normal DC jacks, because it doesn't really need that much for a Saturn. But as big as it is, it really doesn't need that much. Anyway, let me know if you think that will be useful. That way I can avoid getting a power supply for it, and it becomes pretty generic when you can just plug a regular DC one in, and you can actually have a little 3D printed socket there quite easily. Now I see this slowing down and stopping, but I'm gonna go with that probably being just because this is a really knackered disc. Look, it's just some random thing that I think I tried to laser cut once just to see what would happen. So pretty sure it's not picking this up properly. And until I get a video out, I really won't know what it's saying on the screen. But it's certainly looking like a more positive step for this project. Please like, share, subscribe. Let me know in Discord if you have a Sega Saturn and what we should do with this. And again, don't forget, let me know if you're interested in this or interested in the Famicom, because I'll be putting those up for sale soon. There's not going to be many of them. They're going to go fast. Thanks for watching. Before I go, I thought I'd just share a little story with you, because I just remembered I do have experience of Sega Saturn, because I kind of had one in the 90s. And it wasn't a Saturn as such, but it was a card for the IBM PC. And it was basically a graphics card and sound card that came with at least Panzer Dragoon and, oh, that fighting game, that polygonal fighting game. Oh my god, I can't remember what it was called. And you put this card in your PC and it gave you 2 Sega Saturn slots, because I remember from that shape. And it came with, I think, just standard Sega Saturn controllers. And, oh, Virtua Fighter, that was it. And I remember just playing that endlessly, Virtua Fighter, on my PC. And that was a little bit before you got the Voodoo 2s and the fancy ones. You still had some of the kind of more crappy ones, like the Matrox Mystiques, a Matrox Millennium graphics card. But that Sega one never really panned out, and I think it had a weird thing because it didn't calculate triangles or something in the same way, or polygons in the same way. Maybe it used triangles, maybe it used squares, whatever it was. It wasn't quite the same as anything else, and as such I don't think it was ever supported. It didn't get like a glide implementation or something like that, so you couldn't really use it beyond there. And I remember selling that set, and I kind of wish I had it now because it was really cool. There you go. Now you can go away. Bye bye.